When I saw the envelope with her handwriting on it, I felt this weird twist in my stomach. It was soft pink, delicate, and smelled like vanilla perfume, very on brand for Vanessa. I hadn't heard from her in almost a year. No texts. No calls. Not even a happy birthday. And suddenly, there it was, a wedding invitation with gold foil and a smiling photo of her and her fiancé, Eli. Can you believe this? I held the card up to my roommate, Rhea, who was pouring cereal in the kitchen. Rhea raised an eyebrow. Didn't you two stop talking after that whole birthday cake incident? That's a cute way of putting it. Vanessa and I had been best friends since freshman year at NYU. Same dorm, same major, same taste in vintage earrings and iced coffee orders. We were inseparable. Until last year when things fell apart, publicly and badly. She'd thrown a birthday party for herself and accidentally left my name off the guest list. Then posted photos of everyone I knew having fun without me. I found out when someone tagged me in a photo and asked, "Why weren't you there?" I tried to move on. But now she wanted me at her wedding? At first, I considered throwing the invitation out. But the more I stared at it, the more it annoyed me. This wasn't a peace offering. It felt loaded. Like she wanted something. She wants to be seen as the bigger person, Rhea muttered, chewing her cereal. She wants to say she's still included you, even though you two haven't spoken in forever. I sighed and flopped onto the couch. She's up to something. I just don't know what yet. The invitation sat on the coffee table for weeks. Then one night, I cracked open a bottle of wine, reread it, and RSVP'd yes. I had no idea why I was saying yes. Maybe it was curiosity. Maybe I wanted closure. Or maybe I just didn't want to give her the satisfaction of thinking I was still hurt. Then came the group chat invite. Bridesmaids. It popped up out of nowhere. I laughed. Out loud. She made me a bridesmaid? There were 6 of us in the chat. All her college friends, some high school ones. Not a single girl I was even remotely close to. And the tone? Passive-aggressive central. Can't wait to see you again, girl. You look so different in your IG photos. Vanessa said she's putting you in peach because it's your undertone, so thoughtful. They were picking at me, subtle little stabs masked as excitement. But I stayed silent. I watched. And when they asked for my dress size, I gave it. When Vanessa sent the itinerary for the bachelorette weekend, I said I'd be there. Because if she wanted a performance, I'd give her one. But not the one she expected. 2 weeks before the wedding, I ran into someone I hadn't seen in years, Daniel Vega. Tall. Sharp jawline. The kind of smile that made people stop talking mid-sentence. Also, Vanessa's ex. He was sitting at a tiny cafe on 7th Avenue, scrolling through his phone. I hadn't seen him since sophomore year, back when he and Vanessa had a whirlwind 6-month relationship that ended with a lot of drama and a very long Instagram rant. I walked by, slowed down, and he looked up. Zio. I turned. Daniel. He stood and hugged me like we hadn't been ghosted by the same person. We ended up talking for 2 hours. About school, jobs, and Vanessa's wedding, which, surprise, he also got invited to but didn't plan on going. I laughed. She's really on a redemption tour, her. He sipped his coffee. Do you think she's trying to show off? She's always trying to show off, I said. But this feels personal. That's when the idea hit me. And I couldn't believe I said it out loud. Wanna be my date? He raised an eyebrow. To her wedding. I smirked. Why not? You know her better than most. And I'd love the look on her face when she sees us walk in together. He grinned. You're evil. And you're curious. He laughed. You're not wrong. We exchanged numbers and made a plan. By the end of that week, I had my peach dress tailored, my nails done, and my ex-best friend's ex-boyfriend ready to walk into the wedding like he was mine. Not out of pettiness. Okay, maybe a little. But mostly because I wanted her to know, I wasn't the girl she could push around anymore. The wedding weekend arrived faster than I expected, and suddenly I was packing a bag full of designer makeup, a silk peach bridesmaid dress, and a secret that would explode the entire event like a firecracker at a yoga retreat. The venue? A luxury vineyard in upstate New York. Think rolling hills, golden hour lighting, wine barrels as table centerpieces, the full Pinterest core fantasy. Vanessa always had a thing for aesthetics. But she never had taste. Just strategy. I arrived the night before the wedding with my +1 arriving the next day. Vanessa insisted all bridesmaids stay together in a rented farmhouse. It was meant to feel cozy and bonding, but the tension in that place could have curdled oat milk. I stepped through the door and was immediately hit with sugary perfume, wine-fueled laughter, and 5 girls side-eyeing me like I'd shown up in a black veil. Zio. Vanessa squealed like she hadn't carefully orchestrated this whole mess. You made it. She came in for a hug. I let her do her fake squeal thing while I counted the seconds. 1, 2, 3, arms drop. You look great, I said, smiling. Wedding glow suits you. She blinked. Oh. You still know how to flatter me. No, I just know how to play the game better now. The others circled in. Lauren, Emily, Kay, and 2 others I barely remembered from undergrad. They had wine glasses in hand, fake lashes already halfway lifting, and attitudes so sharp you could pop balloons just walking past. So, who are you bringing tomorrow? One of them asked. I sipped water. Daniel Vega. They choked like synchronized swimmers. Wait, Vanessa's Daniel. I nodded, real casual. Yeah. He and I reconnected a few weeks ago. We're feeling things out. The silence was delicious. Vanessa's smile froze in place, just for a second. Like her brain was buffering. Oh, that's unexpected, she said, her tone now lined with barbed wire. Didn't you hate him back in college? I tilted my head. People grow. She blinked. Right. And just like that, the trap was set. The next morning felt like walking into a battlefield in heels. The bridesmaids had been assigned hair and makeup times with military precision. I was last, of course. My stylist was rushed and definitely annoyed, but I didn't care. I didn't come to compete. I came to remind her who I am. Daniel arrived exactly on time, wearing a black fitted suit that made him look like heartbreak with a credit score over 800. I saw him from the balcony and waved. He grinned like we were at the damn Oscars. I walked down the stairs like I was in slow motion. Vanessa saw him. I saw her seeing him. And the second her smile twitched, I won. The ceremony started. White roses, acoustic covers of the 1975, Awkward Parents, and groomsmen that all looked like they worked in tech and said bro too much. Vanessa walked down the aisle to Lover by Taylor Swift, acting like she hadn't once told me she hated that song. I stood behind her with my bouquet, peach satin clinging to my hips, and Daniel in the front row. He caught my eye and winked. She stumbled on the final step of the altar. Poetic. By the time we made it to the vineyard barn for the reception, I could feel the tension humming like bad Wi-Fi. The sun had started to dip, casting long shadows across the room as fairy lights flickered on. Picture perfect. But underneath the glow, Vanessa was unraveling. She made her rounds with Eli, pretending to be happy. But her eyes? They were locked on me and Daniel like lasers. We danced. We laughed. Daniel was charming, flirty, attentive, everything Vanessa always wanted him to be. Except now, he was doing it for me. Eventually, she approached our table. Zio. Can I talk to you? Alone. Daniel gave me a look, but I nodded. We stepped outside into the cool air, past a trail of flickering candles and fake smiling guests. She turned to me, her voice low and tight. Why did you bring him? I tilted my head. Why did you invite me? Her jaw clenched. This day is about me, she hissed. You came here to make a scene. No, you invited me hoping I'd embarrass myself, I said, crossing my arms. You thought I'd show up alone, insecure, sad. But I didn't. And that's killing you. I wanted to be generous. You wanted to be superior. She scoffed, stepping closer. You're still so desperate for attention. And you're still so obsessed with control. She shook her head, laughing bitterly. You brought him just to get back at me. No, I said slowly. I brought him because you thought I never would. And because he wanted to come. Her eyes burned. You're not the victim here. And you're not the queen you pretend to be. She stormed off. I stood there, heart racing, but grounded. I wasn't the girl who used to beg to be liked. I wasn't the friend she could gaslight anymore. I was done letting her write my role in her drama. Inside, Daniel raised his glass at me, and I smiled, because I had never felt freer. To understand how we got here, me standing on a vineyard patio in heels, watching my so-called best friend self-combust at her dream wedding. You need to know the history. The real history. The one Vanessa never wanted anyone to hear. Vanessa and Daniel weren't just exes. They were a ticking time bomb. Back in college, before I even knew Daniel beyond passing glances in the psych department, he and Vanessa were that couple. The ones who made out in public like it was a sport. The ones who posted cryptic captions on Instagram when they fought and deleted each other every 2 weeks. The drama was addictive, but it wasn't cute. It was chaotic. And toxic. The kind of relationship where she'd scream at him for looking at a waitress too long, then turn around and flirt with his roommate just to teach him a lesson. I lost count of how many times she'd cry to me on the phone, saying he didn't care enough or wasn't giving her main character energy. And Daniel? He was no angel. He'd disappear for days. Missed birthdays. Cheated once, maybe twice. He called it emotional confusion. Vanessa called it trauma. I called it what it was, a dumpster fire. By senior year, they were broken beyond repair. But Vanessa didn't end things because she was ready. She ended them because Daniel had started texting me. It wasn't flirty at first. He wanted advice on how to fix things with her. I told him to grow up. Eventually, though, he realized what he had with her wasn't love. It was performance. A show. And the final curtain had fallen. She never really got over that. Even after she moved on, she held on to that grudge like it was vintage Prada. She'd bring him up randomly, pretending it was a joke. Remember when Daniel tried to be deep and quoted Nietzsche after cheating on me? Oh God, imagine dating someone like him again. But then came Eli. Clean-cut. Corporate. The kind of guy who wore monogrammed cufflinks and said things like, "Let's circle back on that." Vanessa reinvented herself for Eli. Suddenly she was the picture of class, subtle makeup, chill girl vibes, book club on Wednesdays. And most importantly, no baggage. She told him she'd never been in a serious relationship before. Yeah. Let that sink in. She erased Daniel. Wiped him off her resume like a bad internship. So when she sent me that wedding invite and tried to play it sweet, it would mean so much if you came. I knew. I knew she wanted to parade her perfect life in front of me. Remind me that she got the ring and the vineyard and the Pinterest board dreams. But I also knew her secret. And it only felt fair to bring mine. The reception had just shifted into speeches and toasts. Her dad gave one about how she used to pretend her dolls were CEOs. A bridesmaid cried mid-sentence while reading a poem. And then Vanessa stood up to thank everyone for coming. She was glowing. Not with joy, no. With the smug satisfaction of someone who thought the game was won. So when Eli turned to me and said, "You're next, right?" She said you'd be saying a few words. I almost laughed. She really thought I wouldn't. I stood up. Clinked my glass. Cleared my throat. I wasn't sure I was going to say anything tonight. I began. But since Vanessa insisted. She gave me a tight smile. I smiled back. Vanessa and I have been friends since freshman year. We've seen each other through everything. Failed exams, breakups, bad dye jobs, regrettable fashion choices. And through all of it, I've always admired her ability to reinvent herself. I paused. In fact, some might say she's the queen of reinvention. For example, most of you probably think Eli is her first serious relationship. Her smile faded, just slightly, but that's not entirely true. Now the guests were listening. Before Eli, there was Daniel Vega. They dated for 3 years. It was passionate, complicated, intense. She even told me once, he ruined love for me. Gasps. A few awkward coughs. Vanessa looked like her veil was suddenly 20 pounds heavier. I continued. Of course, none of that matters now. People change, right? But honesty, is the foundation of any strong relationship. And I just hope, truly, that Vanessa has been as honest with Eli, as she's always pretended to be with the rest of us. I raised my glass. To the bride and groom. The silence was deafening. And then, a soft clink. Daniel. He raised his glass too, with the most smug smile I'd ever seen. I sat down. Eli turned to Vanessa. What the hell is she talking about? She stammered. She's exaggerating. It wasn't serious. I barely. You lived with him for a year, I added, sipping champagne. But maybe you forgot. By the end of the night, Eli wasn't talking to her. Her makeup had smudged beneath her eyes. And Daniel and we danced. Slowly. Under twinkling lights. Like we were the only ones there. The wedding was supposed to be her moment. But she handed me the mic. And I didn't just speak, I set the whole damn script on fire. The second I put down that mic, I knew the wedding was no longer hers. It became a stage for reckoning, and no one was more unprepared than Vanessa. Her smile? Gone. The blush on her cheeks. Replaced by the hot, embarrassed red of someone who just got socially stripped bare in front of 200 guests and a 7-tier wedding cake. Eli sat frozen next to her, blinking like he'd just stepped into a movie he didn't audition for. I watched as she leaned into him, trying to whisper something, anything, but he pulled back like her words were poison. Daniel took a long sip of his drink and nodded at me with a smirk that said, "Damn, you really did that." Whispers started to float around the tables. Did she really date someone else for years? Was that her maid of honor that exposed her? Why would she lie like that before a wedding? Vanessa stood up so fast her chair toppled over. She stormed past the waiters, past the band, past the head table, and straight toward me. Her heels clicked like gunshots on the hardwood floor. "You evil bee *tch, she hissed. "You just couldn't let me have my day, could you?" I didn't flinch. "You invited me here to humiliate me in front of everyone. Vanessa. Let's not act brand new." She blinked like I'd slapped her. "You think I didn't notice? The dress code trick, the shady seating chart, the fake toast setup? Girl, you had this whole thing planned." Her mouth opened, then closed. "You're delusional," she said, voice shaking. "You don't know what you're talking about." Just then, Eli walked over. "What the hell is going on?" he asked. His voice wasn't loud, but the kind of quiet that meant danger. "She's lying," Vanessa said quickly. "She made up everything. I barely even dated Daniel. It wasn't serious, he was just obsessed with me." Daniel stepped forward then, cool and composed. "Obsessed? Vanessa, we lived together for a year and a half. I moved cities for you. You faked pregnancy scares just to manipulate me. Let's not rewrite history." Vanessa's face cracked like thin ice under pressure. "Why are you even here?" she spat at him. "You were never invited." Daniel smiled. "I came as a +1. Funny how life works." Eli stared at her. "You told me you'd never been in a serious relationship." "I didn't lie," she said. "I just didn't want my past to ruin things with you. It wasn't important." "Not important?" Eli repeated. "You lied about something that basic. What else did you lie about?" The air was thick. Everyone was watching now. The DJ stopped the music. Even the bartenders were frozen behind the counter. "You planned to humiliate me at your wedding," I said, locking eyes with her. "You invited me, stuck me at the kids' table, made me wear a different color than everyone else so I'd look out of place. You even asked Eli to call me up for a toast so I'd embarrass myself in front of everyone. And why?" Vanessa was trembling now. Her voice cracked like glass underfoot. "Because I hated always being second to you." She looked down. The room held its breath. "You always got the good grades, the scholarships, the attention. You never even tried and still got everything I wanted. Daniel liked you. Guys liked you. You were just naturally better. I wanted one day where I was in control. Where I was finally the star. So, yeah, I wanted to make you look small. I'm not proud of it." Silence. And then Eli turned around. Walked away. Just like that. He passed the champagne tower, the overpaid photographer, and the floral arch they'd spent months designing. Out into the gravel driveway. Her brand new husband. Leaving his own wedding. Vanessa reached out, but stopped herself. Her mascara was running. Her perfect bridal hair now looked limp and heavy. Daniel walked past her, too, but not before leaning in and whispering, "Congrats, Ness. You finally made yourself unforgettable." I followed him back to our table, sat down slowly, and took a breath. The rest of the night was a blur of murmurs, cancelled speeches, and half-eaten plates of chicken masala. Some people left early. Others stayed just to watch the disaster unfold. But me? I sipped my drink, crossed my legs, and smiled. Because Karma had RSVP'd. And she didn't even need a +1. She stood in the middle of the dance floor, the train of her white dress curled awkwardly under one heel, mascara running in 2 perfect trails down her cheeks. Her fake eyelashes were halfway unglued, and her mouth hung open like she was still searching for the words to undo the avalanche she triggered. "Please," she whispered, stumbling toward me. "Please, you ruined my life." I didn't move. Her fiancé was gone. His entire side of the family followed like a flood: cousins, groomsmen, even the groom's mother who clutched her purse like the wedding had just turned into a crime scene. One of the little flower girls was crying by the chocolate fountain. The DJ had long since packed up his MacBook. "Say something," Vanessa sobbed. "Please." And that's when something inside me finally cracked open. Something I'd buried under fake smiles and polite nods for years. I stood up slowly, looked her straight in the eyes. And for once, I didn't soften my voice to make her comfortable. "You know what, Vanessa?" I said. "I've watched you hurt me in silence for years. And I let it go every single time." Her eyes widened, but I kept going. "You mocked my outfit at prom and told everyone it was from a thrift store, even though I saved up for weeks to buy it." She blinked rapidly. "You told the whole school I was cheating on my exams just because I got into Brown and you didn't." Her hands went to her mouth. "I didn't mean." "And remember that time you accidentally spilled red wine on my white dress at that fundraiser? I stood there, humiliated, and you said I was being dramatic." She was crying harder now, but I didn't care. I wasn't being cruel. I was being honest. For the first time. "I've let you call me your charity friend because I wasn't from money. I watched you roll your eyes whenever someone complimented me. You'd always find a way to undercut it, make it sound like luck instead of hard work. And I took it. Because I didn't want drama. Because I thought maybe, just maybe, you'd grow up." She dropped to her knees now. "I was jealous, okay? I always felt like you had something I didn't." "And whose fault is that?" I snapped. "Who told you to compete with someone who wasn't even trying to beat you? I loved you, Vanessa. I rooted for you. Even after everything. Even after Daniel. I showed up here today ready to let it all go and smile through your shade one more time." I paused. "But you tried to humiliate me. Publicly. Intentionally. And for what? So Eli wouldn't like me? So you could feel like the prettiest person in the room? That's not jealousy, Vanessa. That's cruelty." She whispered, "I didn't think it would go this far." I laughed. "Not out of joy. Out of disbelief. No, you thought I'd cry and run out. You thought you'd win. You never thought I'd push back." She was trembling now. "Can you please just talk to Eli for me? Tell him you were being petty and jealous and made it up." I froze. And then I laughed again. "You still think this is something I need to fix for you?" She opened her mouth to respond, but I cut her off. "No. I'm done. I'm done covering for you, standing behind you, playing the sweet friend who always turns the other cheek. Today, you saw what happens when the nice girl has enough." She sat there, crying in her $3,000 dress on a sticky ballroom floor, and I realized something I should have figured out years ago. Vanessa wasn't just insecure. She was dangerous when she felt unseen. And I had spent far too long making myself small so she could shine. I turned and walked away, heels clicking across the floor as guests whispered and waited for another explosion. There wasn't one. Just me, finally walking in peace, not looking over my shoulder. Daniel caught up with me near the entrance. "You okay?" he asked, gently. "I am now." He gave me a look. "You know, you handled that better than anyone else I know would've. That was some graceful revenge." I smiled. "That wasn't revenge, Daniel. That was self-respect. Long overdue." He offered me his arm again. "So what now?" I took a breath. Now I live my life. Without the guilt. Without the drama. And definitely without toxic best friends. As we stepped outside, the night air felt cleaner, lighter. Like shedding an old, itchy skin. And in that moment, with the stars above me and my head finally clear, I knew this wasn't the end of something. It was the beginning. Of me choosing myself. Every time. Thanks so much for listening to my story. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more real-life stories that hit deep. I'd love to hear your thoughts or experiences down below. Take care of yourself, and I'll see you in the next video.